Hello, everybody. Welcome to our live stream today. I'm super excited to talk to you guys about this really a long time coming. This build has been something that I've wanted to do for a while now because it's basically the accumulation of all the different ideas that we've had for the last while in how can we help people get the equipment they need to go on their noble quest, right? And then you ask me, like, what are you talking about, Conrad? What are you talking about here when you talk about equipment and noble quest? Well, essentially, every single person in life is on a quest. They're on an adventure, even if they don't know it yet, right? There's a certain objective that you want to hit. There's a certain place you want to go in life, and there's a certain path that you're walking on. That is what we call the hero's journey, right? If you believe yourself to be the hero of your own adventure, and you believe yourself to be on a path that is, ever changing, right? When you're on an adventure, you can go, either which way in terms of, north, south, west, east, or you can go, in a up, down. You can go be trekking mountains. You can go down valleys. It's really up to you and how you live your adventure. But the main thing that's consistent in adventuring is that you always need to figure out exactly where you're going to go and how you're going to get there. And the best way to do that is to have, well, let's say a map, right, to guide you where you need to go, a compass to see what direction you're heading, maybe some rations, right, maybe some water. And there's a lot of different things that are going to be necessary for you equipment wise to help you succeed on this adventure where, you may not succeed anywhere else. So to help you succeed, rather, instead of not being able to make it in a desert, right? If you're going to a desert, you need some water and need some different scarves and stuff to wrap your nose and make sure that there's no dust coming into your mouth. There's a lot of things that you kind of think about when you're on these adventures that how can I prepare myself to the best of my ability, right? Or even if I'm there, how do I get that life-saving equipment that's going to help me, make the next step and the next step and the next step? Because I think that's the most important thing, keep moving forward. So without further ado, let's jump straight into our presentation here, because I think there's a lot of really interesting insights that we can come with together. And I'm going to try to make this as chill of a stream as that we can. Today is really more about planning, right? Less about implementation, but more about planning on, what is currently missing in our current, in our current design, and how can we improve it. And we're going to show you my process of going through user feedback and giving really a clear look into how we do iterative improvements on something that we built before. So hopefully that's fun for you. And sorry guys if I sound a bit congested. I unfortunately am a bit sick. Hopefully it doesn't get worse during the stream, but if I do sound congested or I sneeze or I get some snot, just bear with me. We'll be just fine. So let's go straight into our presentation. So like always, we like to go into the why, what's, and how's when we talk about, when we really go into any build of our own. So why, right? Why do we want to build? Why do we want to change things? What's going on? Is that, well, the website is not super compelling, right? It's not as clear as it needs to be. People get confused about the different systems available and how to get them. So if I show you a quick tour of the Quickstreet toolbox, right? This is basically where you land when you first, come to our toolbox, and you get this big, nice, fancy, header. It says it's time to take control action on your learning. And of course, there's some, information on why you should trust us, right? The different institutions that are kind of using us, the different educators, alumni, students, whatever it might be, the different people that we think are a good representation of the, different institutions that also are trying to embody the idea of taking action on learning, right? And not just teaching for the sake of teaching. We have a little, introduction on exactly, what our thesis is, right? When it comes to our system, when it comes to our toolbox, and why we care about it, and obviously some, metrics that help people understand, like, okay, well, these guys are legit. These guys are, really thinking about things, right? But then you jump into here where, there's obviously two main core systems we can go to, and obviously everyone's going to try going for, the free versions just to try it out first. And then you have the, core systems that will be helping you out, and auxiliary that will give you additional more things on top of your system. I've noticed, like, in looking through the analytics of our site and how people click around, is that a lot of people end up getting both free versions, right? They click both and get both free versions. Some people end up, going for the paid versions of one and then the free version of another, and then that's confusing for them because, like, okay, well, am I getting duplicate stuff, right? Because both sides, once you go for, the paid version, you might have a success plan in both. Which one do I use, right? Which success plan is the right one for me, right? So there's a lot of interesting nuances there where I'm going to tackle soon, but there's some kind of confusion there, of course. Obviously reviews is just normal, but even if you go into a system, for example, Gamify Your Life, right, it's not immediately clear what exactly you're getting. There's a video here, which is great, but it's not very easy to access. It's not like very clear, hey, this is what this is about, this is why it's amazing. And if you go into here, like, yeah, it's just not very clear on what exactly you're getting here. So that's also something I need to improve. And if you go to our toolbox, which is another button on this page, again, you see a whole different page that gives you information. And oh, now you have a planner lock. What's that? Oh, Notion? Are you selling Notion? Like, what's going on? And then like there's a lot of really interesting components and bits here that I think we just need to improve overall. And I'm very excited to have a chance to do that. So I think now with some of this presentation in mind, let's go ahead and talk about what we're going to do today and how we're going to move forward. So what are we going to do today? Well, today we want to revamp the entire website to make it more accessible and easy to understand, as well to make our value offering clear. So I had this really cool analogy that I wanted to give everyone, because I think this is something that is probably going to be the main way of how we're going to tackle this. So the first thing is, if I'm in an adventure game, adventure RPG, and I want to go ahead and let's say get some weapon equipments, armor for my current struggle, my current challenge ahead, I would go into a weapon shop, right, armor shop, and then I would get a kind of merchant that would come to me and say, hey, we have all these wares, right? This is for what kind of challenge you have, and tell us our challenge and we'll tell you what potentially is going to be good. If I'm going to go out to the woods and slay 10 wolves versus I'm going to go and kill 2 slimes, maybe the equipment I need will be different, right? And I need to get some kind of expert kind of suggestions for that. So I started immediately thinking about, like, okay, well, is there going to be some kind of, let's say, chatbot, right, that basically understands our site, can give some suggestions, recommendations. That's pretty cool. Of course, if I browse, like any store, I should be able to browse, right? I should be able to go in and just look at different sections of the store. Hey, I want to see all the swords you have available. I want to see all the armors you have available. I want to see all the bows you have available. And those are all very interesting and important to me as well. So I think that's something that we've definitely been missing in terms of how to categorize our information. What is the presentation flow of information as well? But also once you're there, like, if I'm analyzing a sword in my hands, right? What kind of attributes does it have? Is it better for killing, dark attribute stuff or light attribute stuff, right? How sharp is it? What rank is it? Like, is it a very, and so on and so forth, right? There's a lot of really cool ideas here that I think are very applicable when it comes to our day-to-day life. So I think overall, right, what we need to do is just create flows to help the user guide them, right, to a better decision for the system that they need. And also, of course, making sure that the system that is there is as clear as possible, right? To show you exactly, what you can get out of it. Okay, so now that we've kind of planned this all out, let's go ahead and jump into, some planning down here. So I like to always just start my plans in Notion, right? Or any, kind of document style page you might have, because I think it's really easy to kind of plan things out when it comes like that. So let's talk about flows first, right? So let's say the user comes in first. So user joins that site. Okay, what's next, right? Once we get to the site. So once we get to site, obviously we should see a header. We should see a big header that explains what we do. But I also think there might be a cool search bar, right? Maybe there's a cool search bar already. So user joins the site, and then we already have a few options, right? There'll be a cool header, right? Header, and then we have a search bar. Okay, so header, and then we have a search bar. I don't think the header needs to change much, actually. I think the header is actually pretty good. We just need a search bar to say, like, hey, what are you searching for? Or at least we have some auto-filled stuff in there as well. That could be cool. So search bar with auto-filled entries. Ideally, potentially, right? We're still thinking, like, what will make sense. So we have a search bar with an auto-filled entries, okay? And then what happens is, then let's say they went through the search bar, and then in the search bar, basically they can search for, ideally it's a chat, right? It's like, hey, okay, ideally it's a chat bot. So ideally opens up chatbot that gives recommendations based on keywords, right? And I've seen a lot of really cool like AI tools nowadays that are GPT enabled that basically read your information off your sites and then give you information back in a very cool format. So I'm going to show you guys that real soon too, if we decide to go down this route. So we have a chatbot that gets recommendations based on keywords, which will then also then drive them over to a product detail page. Okay, so that's one flow you can go to. Another flow you can go to is like, hey, instead you say you want to scroll down, right? And scrolling down basically gives you the inventory list. So it gives you all the different, tools that are out there inside our system, right? So we have our, inventory list, okay? Inventory list, how do we categorize this? Categorize by what? Okay, so this is what we're thinking about. Okay, well, we have this inventory list. How is it categorized? Okay, so now we have, categorization problems. So let's think about this. So in games, again, we have like swords, we have armor, we have, hats, we have whatever, right? These are all different ways that we could potentially have inventory categorized by. But for us, what's important, right? So let's go ahead and take a look again. So we've categorized by a few things. Getting started beginner equipment, right? So there's one option. So option one, beginner, intermediate, right? Immediate, advanced equipment. And by the way, these are not like mutually exclusive. You can have both, right? So I think that's fine. But that's one way that we can present it. Another way we can present it is we can see that we have systems and individual components. Okay, so kind of. Okay, so I think my option 2 is going to be like functionality. Okay, so is it a sword? Is it a battle axe? Is it etc.? So functionality would be okay, skill level. Functionality would be something like this is for task management, right? This is for reflections. This is for, what else can we use? Gamification. So I think that's also very interesting. If you go to like the Notion template library, actually, so Notion template gallery, so we can see that they actually have it by category function, right? And if you actually go into, I don't remember where gamification system is. So gamification. Yeah, so here's school. So we are actually under personal planning, health education, and wellness. Very cool. So that's something that we're on there. So we need to figure out functionality. So more likely than not, we'll go for functionality. But I think skill level is actually very interesting for us to think about in terms of, okay, well, we have task management. That task management, like very like pro, like very, very difficult, or task management like on a basic level. So I think that is very, very cool too. So yeah, so there's two different ways of going there. I think that's interesting. And then the next thing I think we need to figure out is, okay, with this categorization, then where does stuff like, our merch come in, right? How does stuff like, later on I also want to build like, a blog, right? Where do we put that stuff? And what does our nav bar look like? Because right now it's very, very simplified, right? It's only like our toolbox. And should there even be like a separate like product page, right? What's the difference between products? So whenever I have questions for myself when I'm building something, I ask, okay, so I'll put questions on the bottom here. So I have questions. And ideally, I'm trying to just answer all my questions as I keep going along. So questions would be, what's the difference between a product page and the home page of the toolbox, right? Is there even a difference? So I think that's something important to think about. And then what we want to figure out too is that, well, now that we have these, we also have like a review page, I think, review us. But I don't think this is very easy to find, right? Yeah, so this review page, okay, it's on the bottom there. That's fine. So I think there's some information here for sure. Okay, so we have something there as well. This is, we need to figure that out. I think Chili Pepper's been blocked on a few different domains, so I'm gonna figure that out, of course. But okay, so what's the difference between that? I think the difference is actually home page should be more general, big picture idea, and then the product page is more like inventory. So that if I go there, right, the header is on the home page. and I scroll down and I see my inventory list. This should be a simplified inventory list. So this is a simplified inventory list. Simplified inventory list. So I'm categorized by what it does. I think it's okay. No, I think this should be categorized by Y. Let's think about this for a second, right? So Y is the skill level, right? No, well, Y is, if I think about from the perspective of someone that's going to be landing into the sites brand new, I don't want to be overwhelmed with information. That's my first thought, right? I want to be very simply, what is the best thing I can get out of the site right now, right? That's the most important thing. And am I going to be able to use it, right? This is something for my class. So I think this is actually like, if you think about this, it's like, can think about this like a class. Does this fit me? So maybe even class, okay, actually, no, let's not think about this. Let's actually have a class, right? So option, classes. So like if, for example, if you're a student, creative, second window. So I think that could be very cool too, is that if you have some way of choosing what kind of, demographic you are coming into this, and based on that, getting something useful for you, right? Okay, for students, for entrepreneurs, for second winders or retirees that want to have a second wind, right, in their lives. Hi Haku, say hello to the camera. Hi to everybody. So I think that's still pretty cool as well. So now we have 3 options on how to segment the products that we have on our toolbox, right? Okay, cool. So this is obviously nice to have. The search bar is nice to have. We should ideally be able to solve our problems without having that chatbot. So if we go ahead and take a look, see more should lead to everything else. Okay, I'm getting there. So product details, I think, is another thing too. So product details. So anyway, so product detail page is where we go next. And product detail page, I think we have a few things that we need to improve for sure. So let's go ahead and type that out. And then hopefully we have some time to actually start implementing some of these ideas as well. But so product detail page, basically we need to have these visuals on how it works, right? I think that's super important. We need very clear visuals on how it works. What we're missing right now too is clear product differentiation between grades. So like, for example, like something that is a free version of a sword. Let's say, for example, I'm a blacksmith and I'm creating swords, and I have these free versions for amateurs that are just starting out. Here you go, you can check this out. But that obviously is going to have a very big, great difference between the any paid items, right, that we'll be selling, a paid sword, for example. So when we have a product differentiation between grades, then that needs to be clear. Hey, what do I lose if I am using the free sword? Will I accidentally break my sword when I'm fighting the dragon and be left defenseless, right? Do I need a shield, for example, right? So all these different things are important. So clear product differentiation between product types, I think, is important. I think also having the reviews up front too. Reviews up front is important. Reviews up front is important as well. This information means nothing to anybody. Well, I guess it's extra information, but I think we need better. So if I were to reconfigure this page completely, let me think about how I would do it. Oh, of course, also like different ways. So different modes of payment are confusing for sure. Okay. And I think also the cart has something interesting as well. So carts will be interesting. So the cart also has some interesting things. But anyways, for now, let's go ahead and just make a new flow here. So if they landed on a product detail page, they need to see all these things. We'll close this. Okay, so let's see. Actually, let me make cart a separate thing as well. The reason why we're separating these things is that it makes it very easy for us to see. So like, this is everything to do on the home page, right? But once we get into product detail page, that's a whole other page. So I want to figure that out. Then once we get into the cart, that's a whole different thing as well that we want to handle. So for example, the cart, something that's missing is, you know, giving tips, right? Tips on compatible or incompatible compatible systems that the user has, you know, gotten. So I think that's important as well. So now that we have that, let's go ahead and design the product detail page. I think that's something pretty fun that we can do. And we can design it live using these blocks inside our toolbox, right? For example, if I really just went into our products templates inside Webflow, we can kind of take a look at, you can see it's a bit much. Okay, there we go. So let's go ahead and change it to, for example, Gamefire Life, and let's see how we might change this. So obviously this is like a very basic, format that's been given to us already. And what we want to do right now is we want to figure out exactly how we can go ahead and manipulate it to, you know, fit the things that we need. So when we manipulate it, we can start thinking about like, what is the general thing that we want to see first, right? So I really think a big page plus like a header video is important. I also think we're missing like how it looks kind of thing. So I'm thinking that we are actually let's design it also a little bit in Notion. But I think ideally we should have some kind of visual like drag and drop builder. Maybe like we use Figma at some point. So let's go ahead and kind of think about this. Actually, let's go use Figma from the start. Okay, let me use Figma by default. So let me log into Figma for a second and bring it up, because I think it's very, very important for us to plan this out very properly. So let's go ahead and do some mockups, I think. Yeah, mockups will be here. Let's just log in. So give me a second, guys. I gotta log in. There we go. Let's sign up with email or sign in with email. And don't forget, guys, to drink some water. Stay hydrated. All right, awesome. So let's go ahead and properly plan this out. I think one of the challenges too is that I've ended up bundling a lot of things. So if you actually think about it, one thing too that we need to solve is like, are we talking about inventory categorized by actual thing that you get, or do we want to split it up in packages? I think the simplified inventory list is a package, okay? So these are packages. You know, I can get a sword together with a shield together with a helmet, right? As an example. So example, I can get a sword, shield together with helmet. But whereas I think what is the difference between a product page is inventory. So product page is going to detail out every single component that you could be getting. And if you can get it individually, or you can get it via a package. So some things are package only, some things are individual. I think that's fine too. So that's something that we can definitely go and look into as well. Right now, let's start building this. So I'm gonna start by screenshotting everything here so that we have some things to play around with. So for sure, this is a section that we might want to keep. So I'm gonna just paste this here so we have something to play around with. Let's play around with this section as well. So we have a section like this. Actually, let's just take it from here. It's better. So we have a section like this. Okay, so we have a section like this. And then we have a section like this. And then we have a section like this. Okay, so we have a section like this as well. So you can see that we have a bunch of sections now. And let's now think about like, how do we want to present this information? Another thing I want to show too is if I go to our toolbox, actually, this is where I have our componentized everything, individual components. And for whatever reason, this is not searching properly. So let's go ahead and just grab this. And you can see this is very, very basic. Okay, I didn't even want to screenshot it, but let's just take this and then let's just see what we can do with this. So this is our very, very basic product detail page or component detail page. So let's label these as well so we know what we're talking about and what we're playing on. So this is going to be our product detail page. And I'm going to just make this a lot bigger. And then what we have here is going to be our components detail page. Okay. So if I were to rebuild this, let's go ahead and think about this. So we have, and I'm also going to open up some of the feedback I've gotten inside the community as well. Let's take a look. Yeah. So I think the first thing is, as mentioned here, is visuals on how it works. That needs to be up front and center. We're missing that kind of, view of like, hey, this is a dashboard and this is how it works. So let's go ahead and show that. So we need to show like, okay, this is what you're gonna get. So let me just do an actual screenshot then, I guess, of the actual system. So let me go into, for example, the template gallery. So for example, if I went into the actual template and I went into dashboards and I went to fantasy world, let's say. So this is what I would see. Okay. I need to update that. Wow, that's not loading. Okay. So let's say I screenshotted everything here. But would I do that kind of screenshot? I think I would. So let's try to just download an extension called full page screenshot. So we're gonna download this. Okay, perfect. Now we have a screenshot tool. Now we're going to go ahead and take a screenshot here. Perfect. So as an example, right, this is what I want, and let's figure that out. So we're going to move this down, and then we're going to paste, oops, I'm going to copy this, give it a second. There we go. Paste it in here. Okay, so as an example, then we want this information here. So, okay, so this is how it looks, okay? And then we can have like descriptions on how it works. We can have like arrows, right? For example, we can have like, okay, so this is where your leaderboard goes, right? And then we can have an arrow here. So let's pick this, for example. We can make like a bubble here. Oops. So we can make a bubble here and put some text in the background. Okay, let's move this up, bring the front, paste this, bring it back. And then let's send this all the way to back as well. So send to, oops, send to back. There you go. Maybe let's make this white. And then we're gonna make this rounded, so it's gonna be 8. Okay, this is where leaderboard goes, and maybe we have like an arrow, right? So let's just pick a simple arrow here, just as an example, right? I just want to see how this might look. So this is an arrow. Let's make this white. So what if it was something like this, right? So we had different, we have different ways of seeing things. We're gonna keep pointing at different parts of it, and that should give some good insights into how the system really works. Okay, we should have a video, of course, an introductory video. It's super important. I like introductory videos a lot. How do we present that? Let's take a look. I think we don't need this. I think we just need to have this as front as possible. I really like the fact that this moves. Oh wait, this doesn't move. Okay, well actually it should move all the way. So ideally we can have this on the side and this keeps moving. So we actually want this to be on the side here, right? We actually want this to be on the side. And then, so this can actually shrink a bit. So this is going to be where like, okay, well, it's going to be very difficult for people to read, right? So let's shrink this a bit. Let's probably move this in. So like overlap a bit. And then we can have something like here. This is pretty cool. I do want that. So first let's group this. And let's group this. What am I grouping? There. And then something like that. We can have a nicer arrow later. Then actually, is this more like... Very cool, actually. So what I'm thinking now is that I might have still this format where I don't lose this format, right? Because again, you don't want to redesign things completely if they're useful. But what we want to do here is we want to crop this first. So let's crop this. And let's take only this section. And I'm going to put this here. And I think what could be useful here is that if this is all part of one thing, we can just do this. And depending on which tab you're on, you're going to see different... you're going to see differently on what you can see, right? So introduction is probably just a brief descriptor, but when you go into like the different how it works, then probably you're going to see something like this. I really think we need to rethink the whole like variance. How to handle variance here is very important. Yeah, I don't have any answers right now. Subscription available, this is not super clear as well. Let's go ahead and figure that out. I think having reviews here might be interesting, eh? Having 1 or 2 reviews here. So let's go and have them grab some reviews. Yeah, having some reviews here could be very interesting. So a recent reviews kind of thing. So like, let's paste this. So like recent reviews. So recent reviews could be here. So we have like a few here that might be interesting. We need something to help people also understand like what's the next step. So let's go ahead and figure that out as well. So I really don't like this subscription table. I don't think it's very clear. And I think it could be a modal. This could be a modal. So let's consider this to be a modal. Let's put a comment here is that this could be a modal. Subscription modal. I think that could be very cool. So then I only have a add to cart button here, I guess. And then if I do want a subscription, then I can see a subscription available, and then that'll open it up there. Okay, that's pretty cool. I think that's actually pretty good as a basic redesign. We obviously can improve it later on, but I want to see like how this will pair up with something like our component detail page. So you can see this is like horrible. We need to figure out how to make this a lot better. Like this needs to be 10x better. So this one needs to be like, for example, we might have a... Actually, guys, yeah, I think for this one, let's go ahead and build this next time, because I think what's going to be really cool is for us to work on this design, of course, throughout the week. I'm going to keep building this out. And next week, what we're going to do is we're going to start building this out into Webflow. I'm going to show you how to, reuse components in Webflow and rebuild things so that you don't have to overdo things. But right now, I think the most important thing is just to build this out inside Figma, and then be able to see exactly how all the different things are met. So I'm also going to show you guys, like, for example, there's a checklist of things that you want to do when it comes to building a site, in terms of how do you tackle objections before they come out. So every single stage of the way, you should be exactly saying like, okay, well, what questions will they have here? Well, the question is, okay, how many other people are using this, right? That's something to ask. How do I pay for it? That's something they might ask as well. How does it work? That's something that they might need to know. What's included? That's something to know. So, but each one has a different priority ranking in terms of what's important right now and what's important for them like later on. So knowing all these things is super important. And I think that's what we're going to show you next time in our stream. So thank you so much for joining in. I appreciate that. And if you have any questions, talk to us in the community, ask us questions, and hopefully we just